Hi, I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, where we imagine what we want, we design what we want, and we create what we want. Today I'm going to tell you how to design this type of state sign, any kind of state, any shape that you really want, from no design at all, and how easy it really is to get this. Now, this particular project was made out of particle board, but it still looks really nice, and it's in the shape of Tennessee. It took me about half an hour to actually get that vector shape built into it. So let's get started. I'll show you how to do this.
All right, so we are now in VCarve, and we are going to do a state that I haven't done before. I mean, I've only done Kentucky, but let's go. So we're going to pick our material size. We're just going to go with 24 by 24, 3/4 inch thick. We're on center. We're going to click OK. Now we're going to get a state. Let's get a state I haven't done. And I was thinking about Ohio, but we're not going to do Ohio. Let's do a different state. Let's do, let's pick out a good state. Let's do New York. New York State. Okay, there we go. So what we want to do is get a high definition image. Google just punches out the most popular, so we're going to go to our setting or tools over here and click that. We want to get a large images. It's already set on large right now, so Google has already thrown that out to me. And which one do we want to get? It doesn't really matter. As long as we can get the outline of the state, we can use this guy right here. We can use this one here. If you want to get profiles within the state, then you get any one of them. Let's try this guy right here. All right, this is actually a really good one for us to work with, because sometimes you get really sloppy images that you need to doctor up. So we're going to use this one. So we're going to right click. We're going to save that one as. We're going to do New York 1.jpg and click OK. Okay, we have our New York image. On the left hand side at the top, you have your file operations. New, open, save. It's the very last one with looks like a little paper airplane coming out of it. Import to bitmap image. So let's do that, and there's New York 1. So we import that. Let's click it again, so we bring in the transform objects button. Hold your shift button down. Come over and hold your shift button down. You hold your shift button down so you can expand it with from center. All right, so we're just going to bring up the whole size of the board, a little bit bigger because we can, nope, we have to stay there. All right, there we go. And we are ready to do some vector work. So what we have to do is we have to now import vectors into the sky. And we do that by clicking over in your create vectors area up in the left. So now we're in the second region. It looks like the little folded airplane. Click that, and we're going to open up a screen. Now, if you look on the left-hand side, well, first of all, the image is grayed out. On the left-hand side, we have color and black and white. We're going to stay with black and white. Color is a little bit more complicated, and you can see that just below this is a little slider. Now, VCarve is defaulted to that. It just defaulted to what it thinks is going to be the most appropriate for the image that it sees. And so we're going to stick with that. Now down below has corners, loose fit, tight fit. You can slide that around wherever you want. This is a state. It's going to be a carve, and we're going to do a loose fit. The tighter we get, the more defined the corners are going to be. So we want this kind of loose. And then the noise filter, we're going to turn that all the way up. The noise filter will help eliminate noise that can be generated if you have kind of a crappy image. So we want to get rid of the noise. We'll slide down, And the bitmap fading, do we want more or less? That it's not really doing anything in this case, so don't worry about it. And I have to click the image. It has to be highlighted. You see the pink lines around it. And then we're going to do a preview. Now it's going to import nothing. You see what it's done? It hasn't picked up the outline. It picked up all the dark stuff on the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back up here to the threshold slider, and we're going to bring that up until we can see the entire state. So now we have the entire state. You see a lot of stuff is grayed out. We're not going to worry about that. What this is going to do is create vectors around the dark areas. So let's try it again. We're going to do another preview. And look at that. Now we got our highlight all the way around, and it's blocked out most of the noise on the inside, which is exactly what we want. So we are going to take this and roll with it. So we're going to apply and then close. Now we need to turn the state off so we can see our vectors. So up top in the layers, you see we default to layer 1. You want to switch that bitmap layer off. VCarve created a bitmap layer when you imported the bitmap. All your bitmaps will come into this layer. So we're going to turn that off. We don't need it anymore. And there we have New York State. Now we've got some goofy things. That looks a little funny. We're going to get rid of that. I want to know if this is part of New York. Let's go back to our image. And it's not. It's just a indicator. It's a little arrow to point to that little county right there. So that is not needed. But VCarve created a vector. We're going to eliminate that. So we're just going to highlight it and delete. Now we're going to get rid of all the noise on the inside. So we're just going to highlight all the inside stuff and delete it. We don't need it anymore. Okay, when we go to machine, New York City region down here, and then Staten Island, it's going to be a little funny. So we'll make a decision on that. Let's get rid of these other vectors. Okay, so now if I get rid of this, you can see it's actually created itself as part of the New York State vector. If I highlight it over here, so we got to cut that out. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's get rid of the other loose stuff. Yeah. We can do lots of little things. If we're going to leave this stuff in here, we're going to leave Staten Island in. We're going to cut out that little part of the island there. We got a little issue that's going to happen here, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute, as well as here. So let's start cleaning this up. There's two more little spots here we want to clean out. All right, so there's New York State. Now, if we are doing a cutout on this with a 1/4 inch end mill, we're going to have a lot of difficulty getting into this little kind of area here. Now, VCarve is going to program what it can to get through there. But we can clean it up, get rid of that, and we're going to. We have to get rid of this. So let's just do that now. What we're going to do is highlight New York. Okay, everything's highlighted now except for Staten Island. And we're going to press the N button. N for node. Or over here in your edit objects, you have the arrow button for selecting objects. The next one, the arrow with the little plus button. What that's going to do is bring up nodes. These are all little segments that VCarve has created around the vector. So every segment has its own basically like machining region. It's going to generate more code. For the more vectors you have, it'll be more G code. Not usually an issue on something like this, but we can clean this up in a couple of ways. First of all, we can go into node cleanup. If you go back to your left-hand control panel under Edit Objects down towards the bottom, you're going to see this little S-shaped thing. You click that, and what that's going to do is reduce the number of nodes based on some values that you set in there. So I'm going to click it, but I want you to watch the image when I do. Here we go. Okay, so what it's done is it's taken out some of the nodes, based on a tolerance that I've used, which is 0.1 inches. Basically, it's not going to allow nodes that are less than 0.1 inches apart. We're going to preview that. Okay, now see, it's eliminated a lot of these nodes, and we are going to accept that. So we're going to say okay. And let's clean some things up. So right here, we have this little hook. We want to eliminate that little hole right there. So we're going to press N for Nancy for node, and we're going to eliminate these nodes right there. So you highlight them and hit your delete button. No, you don't do that because, so we're going to hover over it and click it and then hit delete. There we go. Hover over it, click it and hit delete. Now we can highlight it and delete. We can't use the delete button. We can click, hover over it, click it and delete. We want to highlight the node. Okay, so we've eliminated that, and we're going to get rid of this little indicator over here. So what we're going to do is we are just going to get rid of these nodes altogether. And I'm going to try this one more time. I'm not sure why it doesn't work. Normally that should work. So we're just going to end up deleting these nodes right there. So you can go over it, click it, delete it. Okay, delete. So what I'm doing is just hovering over it now and hitting delete. And I am getting rid of each node as I go around. You see what it's done now? It has cleaned that up. I'm going to get rid of that node as well. All right, and you can drag these other nodes around a little bit. So that has cleaned that up. We got a couple, we got a little node right here we don't really need. I can't delete it, can I? Nope. So it's not something, I'm not sure why that's working like that. Delete. Let's pull this one out in a little bit. So you can see how you can change the shapes around a little bit. And we are going to do a little jury rigging here just so we can get a good machining out of this. First, we're going to take a walk around New York. So assuming we're going to actually cut this out, so we're going to take a tool. I'm going to draw a circle. And that circle is going to be, let's just say we're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. So I'm going to say 0.25. And I'm going to click a circle right in here. Okay. And then exit out of that. So you can see the end mill will get most of that out. That's not a critical area, but what's critical if we want to do a cutout here, that end mill will not fit in there. So when VCarve goes to calculate this out, it's going to come around and then stop there and come up around here and around, and it's going to do these little areas there. So it's going to cut it out as one section, which is okay, but I want to show you what we're going to do. We have to get rid of that part too. So let's, I'm going to delete that circle, and we got to trim this out right here, do a node, and let's start cleaning these nodes up. Easy, easy, easy. All right, I'm going to let this go with this. All right, so we exit out of that, so hit your escape button twice. Now we're going to select this, Staten Island, and I want to highlight it. In order to create a separate entity, since that's what it is, we're just going to slide it down just a little bit so our 1/4 inch end mill can get around this. And there we have New York. Let's take a walk around New York, see what we can machine and what we can't. So obviously we can't machine this little area there, so we're going to do another node edit. We're going to clean up some nodes there. And you got to see that little corner there? VCarve, the tool is just going to radius around that, so I'm not worried about that to just straighten that up. But if we were using a really fine tool, then we can actually do adjustments, drag that out, drag that over, however we want to do it. And let's just walk around New York and see what we can cut and what we can't. So this little guy right here, I don't think the 1/4 inch end mill can get into that. Okay, it can't. So what we're going to do is we're just going to open it up so it can. Node. We're going to just drag things out a little bit. The nice thing about this is people won't really notice, especially if it's personalized. It's a name. It'll be a nameplate or something like that. There. Now that 1/4 inch end mill will get in there. Just walk around. I'm looking for more jagged edges that it just can't get. I think we'll check this out. This might be a little close for our grooving bit. What I'm planning on doing is actually doing a V bit all the way around on the line, and then we'll do a cutout outside the line. Got a node there we don't need, but that's no big deal. This is fairly clean, so we have no other issues, and it's a beautiful walk with you around New York. Here's one. So I don't think our 1/4 inch end mill will fit in here. It'll do pretty good, so I'm just going to leave that alone. Walk around, it won't fit in there, but it'll put a little cusp in there, just like it will here. We'll leave those in there. Where that will show up is on the Vgroove. So yes, we do have to take care of that. And I apologize, I didn't think about that. So we're just going to open that up so our 1/4 inch end mill can get into there. And there we go. So 1/4 inch end mill, we'll make it in there quite nicely. We got a little spot right there that it may have an issue with. On fine detail work, this is something you'd be able to sand out, but that'll fit in there. So let's just leave that on there because I want to see if it's going to make it to some of these other areas. What's going to happen is your V-carve tool is going to come around on the line, and then it's going to try to mill out that area, but it's going to miss that, as you can see. So you have a little groove, and then your end mill will be right there. It's going to miss the groove. If our groove's deep enough, it won't be that big of an issue, but we are going to open it up anyway because we want this to look decent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that node right there, and that should take care of it. And we'll curve it in a bit. We'll curve that one out a little bit. There. Close enough for rock and roll. And let's move on up around New York, and we are pretty good. This might be an issue area right here, so just drag that. How are we going to do this? We'll open it up a little bit. There. And will it work in there? Get out of node mode. Let's grab our circle. Let's move our circle over to here. And it looks like we'll be able to get in there. We got a little funny edge there, so let's take care of that real quick. There. And that end mill has to be able to get into that whole pocket. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to make sure the end mill itself is inside this circle. It was on the outside of the circle. There. Now the end mill will get in there and cut all that out. Of course, we're going to have a V-groove, so the end mill is actually going to run around the outside a little bit. So we're going to just kind of just bring some things down. And I think we're going to be okay, except for right here. So let's take this guy over here. We're going to bring that there. We're going to bring this arc over here. All right, looks good. Let's get rid of the circle. Where did I put it at? There she is. Turn off our node mode, get rid of our end mill, and we are now ready to go. Our end mill will fit in there. It's going to be a little funny there, but as it comes out, this V-groove, it'll be okay in these areas. So there you have the state. And that's how you come up with a state shape that you can cut out on your CNC. And you can clean these things up a little bit more. And then just for fun, you know, I mean, make the state worthwhile, let's put somebody's name in there. So let's do Smith. And I like this text. It just has a nice taste to it, right? And let's just bring it up. And we can add in anything else that we want. Now, if we're putting a V groove along the line, they may come across that S. So we'll have to move things up. Now, I'm just going to walk through and clean this up real quick. Right now, I'm doing the V grooves. you can see it's going to do a funny cut right in here. We want to eliminate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of text mode, close that, and we're going to highlight Smith. And if you come over to your control panel and go down to Edit Objects, the one just below the selector arrow is Weld. Now, it's going to come up with an alarm. But before I hit press that, what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate these funny areas at the end of the M, the end of the I, the end of the T. So this is highlighted. We click the weld and I get an alarm. Now what this alarm is telling me is there are sections that it can't weld together. The inside of the T right here, it can't do anything with, and the I, the dot on the I. And it's just going to say, do you want us to replace that with a different vector? And we're going to do that. So we click replace, and now it's separated everything else out. And now we have a vector with the Smith. And you can see these things are now separate. They're separate vectors, and that's exactly what we want. So there we have it, New York. We're just going to generate some quick toolpath. We're going to put a V-carve on it. So we are done here. Let's save it as New York. Save. And I'm going to save this project as CNC models. And I'm going to call it New York State. And there we have it. Save it. Let's go to our 3D. So up top of your control area is right there. That's where we're going to start doing our carving. I'm sorry. So I have everything selected here. We have to do two different tool paths here. First one we're going to do is we're going to cut out the name. So we're going to select the entire Smith, because what we did when we welded it, it turned it from text into vectors. So we have to make sure we select all the vectors, and we are going to go to V-carve, the V right there. We're going to use a V bit. So you can see here we got a V 90 degree half-inch bit, and its start depth is top of the material, and we are good to go. There's nothing else I really need to put on this. The thing with the tool, we can take a look at the tool and see what we got. And it's just defaulting the tool. Everything's good. And we can put in a tolerance there if we want to, but we're not. I'm going to calculate that. And that has now run Smith. Let's generate the tool path. Isn't that beautiful? I love this text. Okay, so we have Smith. Now we have to do the state. So we're going to come up and tile our image, because now I have to select the state and get rid of Smith. So we got the state, we got Staten Island, and close that. Now we're going to do a profile toolpath. Click that, and this profile, this Vgroove, is we're going to go down, let's go down just a 0.1 of an inch. It's actually plenty for a Vgroove. And we are going to select our 90 degree bit, which is what we have. This is going to do 2 passes. I like to add a third finish pass. Sometimes I'll reduce the pass if it makes too many passes, but I always like to add a finish pass just to clean up. So the way you do that is you edit your passes, and you see it's calling up 2 passes at these depths. What we're going to do is come down here and select a last pass, and we're going to give it a 0.1 and apply. So it's 0.1. Now you can see there's a third pass here, and it's not very much material. That just finally cleans it up. We can make it even less if we want, but that's what we're going to take. Now it's going to do 2 passes plus that pass. We'll click OK, and we are going to rock and roll with that. No leads or anything. And we're going to calculate that. Now generated that toolpath. Look at that, beautiful. Click generate the toolpath, and there is New York State. Now at this point, we can just do a cutout if we want. I'll do a quick cutout without tabs, just so you can see how to do it. I'm going to click close, and we are still selected here. state profile. So I'm going to leave that, and now we're going to do another profile. Okay, so our cut depth, we're going to go to the depth of the material. So the material, we can just say Z equals, and that's going to call up the depth of the material, which is 3/4 of an inch. We're going to use a different bit. We're going to use our 1/4 inch end mill. So we're going to select that tool. Now we have 1/4 inch end mill. It's going to do it in 8 passes, which is fine with me. And it's going to feed straight down. I'm not going to add any tabs. Well, we can add a couple tabs just so you see what happens when you click the tabs, edit tabs. It's calling up 2 tabs. We'll put in 4 tabs. And then down here, you just add the tabs, and there they are. Got a whole bunch of tabs. Probably a good idea to have tabs down here. You know, if it's sticking to the surface, you use a vacuum table and you don't need them. We'll take that. 4 tabs, let's place them well. We're going to leave them right there. And let's generate this toolpath. This is going to do the cutout. And preview. Oh, look at that. Okay, so we have a mistake here. Look, we lost our groove. And there's a reason for that. So we're going to go back into the toolpath, and I'll show you why. You come down here. I told it to cut on the line. Well, that's what the Vgroove did. So we need to go outside the line. So click outside. There's no allowance effect. And we'll recalculate this. And we're going to reset our toolpath right there, reset our preview. So it takes everything away. Now we're going to view all our toolpaths. Okay, and now we have our chamfer that we created. You can see it going right along there. And we have a beautiful plaque of New York State. Pretty cool, huh? And once you cut off the tabs, then you have the state. I'm going to regenerate this without the tabs so I can actually show you this. So we're going to come down here and we're going to unclick the add tabs. We're going to recalculate and we'll regenerate. And double click this material you don't want. And there is New York State. So that's how you get vectors for state. So if you don't have an image of anything, this is the way you do it. Some images are going to be challenging, you'll find out, but this keeps it nice and simple. Beautiful state of New York for the Smiths. Now I got to find the Smiths. I want you to see something here. There's a little tab down here. And the reason for that is, come on. The tool cut around there, these are actually leftovers that wasn't part of the other material. So I have to double click that to get rid of that, and double click that to get rid of that, if I can get onto it. There we go. So leave a comment, whatever you think. I am going to save this. Now I have New York State. Some things you can do, you can just add in little features that you want. If you want to put a little star for where their home is or whatever you want, that's really cool. We're going to save this as New York State under my models, under states. New York State, save. And we got it.
That's it. That's how easy it is to create vectors from a simple map image on Google and turn it into a nice little project like this. Now, if you have any ideas or how you do it differently or what your thoughts are about creating this type of project the way I did it, please give me your feedback. I love ways to speed things up, and leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. I'm just glad you dropped by. This is where we imagine it, we design it, and we make it.